Okay guys, the Tour de France is back and we all love a bit of Tour de France drama. And we didn't have to wait long for the first drama from this year's edition to rear its head. And I don't know about you, but I definitely didn't have on my bingo card Jonas Vingegaard's wife, Trine Hansen, brutally slamming Team Visma over Jonas's schedule, his work rate, the tactics in the team. It's just absolutely crazy. I really can't believe that she's come out and said this at this point in the tour. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look through it, break down the key quotes, give you the reaction to some of the things that she said and why. And even better than that, we've got Team Visma Lease bike have responded in an interview, so we're going to have a look at that interview and break that down. Alongside the former fishmonger himself, Jonas Vingegaard has given his response. So we're going to unpack the chaos, break this one down and say what the hell is going on and why it's happening now. It's quite a strange one because it wasn't just one interview that Trine did, but it was actually two. And they were both criticising the team, actually. So let's have a look at some of the more eye-raising quotes that we saw in the first interview with Politiken. Knowing Jonas, I'd say they're squeezing the lemon too much now. I'm afraid he's burning the candle at both ends. There's so much travel. He's a guy who needs a bit more calm around him and a bit more time to recharge. You can calculate all sorts of things in a spreadsheet, but I think sometimes people forget the whole person and how to get the best out of him. That can backfire. So that's an interesting one because for those of you that don't know, Trine Hansen and Jonas Vingegaard met when Vingegaard was a rider on Team Colo Quick between 2016 and 2018. Trine Hansen was the marketing manager for the team. So you'd think she fully understands exactly how pro cycling works in terms of the amount of time that you need to be away from home, the amount of commitments it takes from a full-time athlete to be an elite rider and the best in the world. It's obviously a full-time job, obviously involves a lot of training. So it's really odd that she's sort of coming out and criticising this now, especially sort of during the start of the Tour de France. You know, it was only a year or two ago, I remember her saying she wanted Jonas to go for all 3 Grand Tours in the same year. So this seems a really different tone from her, and it's really odd for her to come out and sort of say it now, especially at the start of the tour. Another thing that she said that was quite interesting was that Jonas needs to recharge to deliver his very best. He won't automatically win more just because he does more races. Life would actually be easier if he did more races. The team's big goal is for him to win the Tour de France, so they plan the best path to that, and that includes lots of altitude training camps. Jonas doesn't recharge when he's on another 3-week altitude training camp with his team. He really needs to be there with us at home in Denmark to do that. If that's not possible, then we need to be together somewhere else where we can just be ourselves. Again, it's just such a strange thing to come out and say now. Why criticise the amount of training that it takes to be a Tour de France champion and a Grand Tour winner? There's nothing that's changed here. Why start moaning about the amount of time that he's spending away from home when he's training to be the absolute best in the world? And that's his job. It's not like it's me training on Zwift for 10 hours a week whilst my partner's tearing her hair out. And that kind of is at odds with this next thing that she says, which is, to be honest, for me, the most interesting part of this whole interview. Why Trine felt the need to come out and say this 2 stages into the Tour de France, I really don't understand. But she makes a point about saying, at one point we decided to renovate a house together. Jonas realised that he could both tear out a kitchen, install a kitchen, and lay wooden floors. We disagreed with the team about it. They thought he was doing too much at home, but I thought it was important for him to also do some of the hard and annoying things, because it was important for us to be equals and do it together. If other people could do it, then so could we. Now that's kind of insane to say that just a few seconds after saying that Jonas needed to recover more better whilst he was at home than he could out on the road with the team. At the same time, to say you've also been disagreeing with the team about the amount of DIY work that he's been doing at home. It's just such an odd thing to bring up, and it really is quite bizarre. Especially when you consider the fact that Jonas is probably on something like 4 or 5 million euros a year and could certainly afford to get somebody in to do the work if they needed to. Or if they really wanted to wait and do this DIY house together, maybe just wait 4 or 5 years until he's retired and do it then. It's just such an odd thing to say, and it really does come across like Trine is almost annoyed at Jonas for not doing his share of the chores whilst he's trying to win the yellow jersey of the Tour de France. I don't know, it just seems really, really strange and kind of a bit tone deaf in light of everybody else on the team probably earning less and being away from home for just as long, if not longer. And I don't really understand kind of who she's complaining to or why. It's just sort of one of those things where obviously Jonas has to do all these sacrifices to be at the top level and be competing with Tadej Pogacar. So what does she even want Visma to do? And with all due respect, without trying to sound too harsh, I'm pretty sure that being the wife of a pro cyclist is probably preferable to being the wife of a fishmonger. But it doesn't end there. No, she's not done with the criticism just yet, because she also levels at Visma over the tactics that they employ for the tour itself, with her stating that I hope he has the full support of the team instead of there being multiple goals during the race. I think the team should focus on winning the Tour de France and nothing else. Then I think he has the best chance of winning. If they start spending resources on stage wins for other riders, those resources are taken away from Jonas's basket. You can only respect how they do it for Tadej Pogačar. When he lines up for a race, there's no doubt about who's the leader. Everyone knows their role. I think that's super important. So it sounded like a very thinly veiled dig at Visma and the fact that maybe they go for sort of stage wins with people like Wout van Aert. But it's just astonishing to kind of hear that sort of criticism levelled at Visma and the team on day 2 of the Tour de France itself, when obviously they're hoping to just sort of get through it without incident and as little drama as possible. They certainly don't need the noise and the chaos caused by this one. But no, Trine wasn't done with one interview levelling at the team. She decided to do another one, and there were just as many shots fired in this one as the other one. In an interview with Jyllands Posten, as when referencing Jonas's big crash in Zulia Basque Country last year, she mentioned, "Everyone on the team knows we, his family, only heard about it through the television. It's just bad form not to send a message to let us know he's okay. I simply can't understand it. With 2 children, he does feel he's missing out on life at home. That has to be weighed against the joy he gets from cycling. In many ways, the countdown to the end of his career began when we had our first child." So again, it's kind of crazy to hear her out in the media saying these sorts of things, especially on day 2 of the Tour de France. But luckily for us, after yesterday's stage, Grisha Neerman, Visma Lease bike team boss, was already being asked questions by the world's media on this one. And we're going to have a quick look at this interview from Grisha because in my opinion, he seems pretty angry that he's been asked these questions in the first place. And then we've also got Jonas has come out and responded as well. All right, let's see what Grisha has to say about this one. Something tells me he's not going to be entirely pleased to be being asked these questions.
Very good cohesion with Jonas, and we always sit together and we plan the year. So, for example, this year in February, he didn't go to altitude. And on the other hand, there are sacrifices possible necessary to win the biggest bike races, and Jonas knows that, and I also know that Trine knows that. So I think that's probably a bit blown up. But
that's amazing. So he basically just said, you know what he signed up for, Trine. We sat down and we planned Jonas's schedule at the start of the season. Jonas agreed to it. Jonas said he was happy with it. So why are you complaining about it now? Okay, what else has he got to say?
We have a very good way to work together with Jonas and also with Trine.
In the article, she also have a concern that she doesn't understand why the team is not focusing 100% on the victory of Jonas instead of having more goals for several riders. A few words on this?
He looks absolutely raging, doesn't he? He looks so annoyed when she asked that question. What do you mean? She said we're not focusing on Jonas and we need to do more. That is hilarious. He's so angry. I'm not surprised. Like, why is she calling these things out and he's being asked these questions in interviews after a stage? This is madness. Right, what does he say? What's he got to say?
Yeah, I think we have Wout van Aert, who's the best helper for Jonas you can imagine. But Wout is a big champion and he also needs some own goals and some freedom in the race. That's everybody knows that, and if you give him that, you get back the Wout you saw, for example, in the Giro, who helped Simon Yates win the race. And if you tell him you can go to the Tour, but you have to focus on the leader for 100%, he will do it, but he will not be on the level that he will be when he also gets his own freedom. So we always go for the optimal result for the team, and we absolutely believe that combination is the best we can bring here.
That's hilarious. He basically says, I'm the DS, I know what I'm doing. We need Wout to actually be motivated and not just be Jonas's lackey and domestique. He's one of the best riders in the world. Of course, we're going to let him go for the odd stage win every now and again to keep him motivated. But it's the look in his eyes that tells you more than anything else, isn't it? He is not happy to be being asked these questions. I wonder if there's going to be some serious words said on the team bus after this one at the end of stage 2. This is just totally needless and unnecessary drama, and I'm absolutely all in for it. This is exactly what I signed up for the Tour for. But it doesn't end there. It wouldn't be complete without Jonas being asked and giving his reaction either. And, well, he doesn't disappoint because in totally non-committal fashion as usual, he says, I know Trine supports me 100%, but I don't read the media whilst I'm racing. It's just such a weird dynamic. It comes across like, you know, Jonas is afraid to say this and Trine's coming out and saying it on his behalf. So what do you think of this bizarre situation? Is Trine right in what she's saying? Should she have said it? Should she have said it now? And what impact is this going to have on Jonas, Team Visma and their bid to take home the yellow jersey this year's Tour de France? Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below on what you think and catch you on the next one.